Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We've been telling you about Vermont's universal recycling law for a few years now. The changes to this law have been occurring in stages. First, plastic, paper, and glass were banned from landfills. Recently, yard waste made the list. And by 2020, food waste will be diverted from landfills as well. These changes mean the facility handling these materials has to change too. The Chittenden Solid Waste District's Materials Recovery Facility, MRF for short, receives 200 tons of recycling every day. And now with the increase in compostables like leaves and food scraps, the work is, well, piling up. Across the Fence's Rebecca Gollin dug into the story and has our report.
87 is when we were created and this landfill started closing. Right, mandatory recycling kicked in.
Michelle Morris is the Director of Outreach and Communication for the Chittenden Solid Waste District.
We are a municipal district. We act kind of like a school district or a water district. We're responsible for managing all of the solid waste that's created by all of our member towns and cities. So every town and city in Chittenden County, if you produce trash, recycling, food scraps, all of that kind of stuff, we're responsible for overseeing how it's managed. We don't pick it up, we help you make less of it. Right behind me, behind this little red dumpster, is all your drink bottles.
On this day, Morris is leading a tour of the Materials Recovery Facility, or MRF, in Williston.
There's no better way to understand how your decisions impact these markets and how recycling works or doesn't work than by seeing it in action and seeing what your decisions mean to the folks who work here and to the system in general.
Those decisions can make a big difference, both to the workers at the MRF and its bottom line.
So some of the common mistakes are plastic bags or filmy plastic. We don't want any of that in your recycling bin. Take your plastic bag back to the grocery store. They recycle it via a completely different system, and it does get recycled, but not in your blue bin. So no plastic bags, no styrofoam. Make sure plastic packaging and containers are empty and clean, and no food packaging. We get 180 tons here a day, and we have people working here. We want it to be a nice environment as much as it can be.
The group on this tour is largely made up of employees of Autumn Harp, which is a custom manufacturer of personal care products in Essex Junction.
It's just good business.
Adrian Oates oversees the company's manufacturing facility. Recycling is a key part of the sustainable practices they've implemented.
Sustainability has also done a lot of reduce in terms of electrical usage. We have LED lighting, that sort of stuff, water reduction projects, and that all saves money and puts money to the bottom line. The recycling is much less expensive than sending to the landfill, which is also good for the bottom line. And our customers, it's really important to our customers.
This is where the market's going, is sustainability. And
as a materials handler at Autumn Harp, Jason Fitzsimmons deals with a lot of the waste that comes through his company. Seeing the way recycling is handled at the MRF has helped Autumn Harp make sure its waste is going to the proper place.
A couple of years ago, we did a audit and we found out that plastic film was super easy and affordable to actually recycle. It didn't cost us too much more. And we were able to put that in place. And I mean, the amount of plastic film we send out of that facility and that doesn't wind up in the landfill it's quite a bit. It's a few trailerfuls a year. And that's after it's been kind of compacted down a little bit. And so it is quite a bit.
After their tour of the MRF, the group headed to one of Chittenden Solid Waste District's newest facilities, Green Mountain Compost in Williston.
They're doing here on the molecular level, so they know the carbon-nitrogen ratios of all the different feedstocks.
We're taking in yard debris and food scraps from around the county and beyond, and at this point that's over 5,000 tons of each. So there's a huge leaf pile that represents the majority of the leaves are most of what the yard debris we get, but also grass clippings and things like that.
It takes about a year to turn food scraps from the slimy, smelly loads that come in to the dark brown, nutrient-rich compost that the facility sells in bags or bulk. It's still a couple of years until the full implementation of Act 148, which will require all food scraps to be diverted from the landfill. But the compost facility is starting to prepare.
it's not just us here at CSWD that are preparing for 2020. I feel like the state is, and down to an individual level, people are starting to think about, am I going to backyard compost? Am I going to drop it off? And what am I going to do about those bones? And those kind of questions. So it's nice that awareness seems to be, a pardon the pun, but happening organically.
CSWD Business Outreach Coordinator Ethan Hausman wants people to know that there are some important things to consider when it comes to composting.
There are many things to keep in mind, down to the smallest detail, like taking off your produce stickers before you throw your avocado skins in the compost or your banana peels, to thinking sort of much more broadly about how to reduce first and foremost. We want to emphasize that as great as composting is and recycling, that at the consumer level, it really starts with trying to reduce first, and that's always preferable as the first step.
Back at the MRF, Michelle Morris has some advice for Vermonters who want to get their recycling to the right place, but might not know where that is.
The main things people need to know is, if you're not sure what should go in your recycling bin, call us or check our website. We have a hotline and we have a great A to Z list on our website. And don't throw it in saying, oh, they'll figure it out. We call that wishful recycling. It doesn't help the system, it just makes it more expensive.
Helping Vermonters use all of their resources. The Chittenden Solid Waste District is gearing up for the future. In Williston, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
If you'd like to tour the MRF, visit CSWD homepage and follow the links. The address is on the screen. You can also call CSWD's hotline with questions about recycling or disposal of any item. That number is 802-872-8111. Well, if you live in Vermont long enough, you're sure to hear knee high by the 4th of July. It's a farming adage for how well the corn is growing. Nowadays, farmers have more than well-worn wisdom to help them. For farmers who plant cover crops to protect soil and improve water quality, a new piece of technology is designed to work if the corn's knee high or higher. Across the Fence's Keith Silva has our story.
One of the biggest environmental challenges facing Vermont is water quality. Big challenges require even bigger solutions. And if there's one thing to say about this highboy tractor, it's big.
It's about 6'3" to 6'4" under the belly, and then the booms run about 9 feet in the air.
The only one of its kind in New England, the highboy is the latest and largest tool in UVM Extension's toolbox to encourage and support farmers to use cover crops, the key strategy to improve water quality.
It's a high clearance spray rig that's been modified to spray cover crop seed onto corn crops, standing corn crops. So essentially what we do with it is we calibrate the sprayer to put on the right number of pounds of whatever mix we're using, and then we essentially use GPS to identify where in the field we've been and where we're going, and we drive up and down the corn rows spraying seed under the canopy. Typically the corn will be between 7 and 9, 10 feet tall, and the machine just rides in between the corn rows with the arms out, with the drop tubes down, and it just kind of goes over the top. It looks like it's kind of floating over the corn.
Cover cropping, like all farming, depends on timing. Cover crops are often planted either after harvest or as soon as the cash crop is established. The highboy allows sanders to experiment with the timing of planting a cover crop. It also helps face other challenges, like Mother Nature.
Weather lays your best made plans in ruin. We have got other methods of cover cropping. We can interseed up to about 3 feet. That whole time period when we would have done that and wanted to that, it rained, and you can't interseed in the mud, so you can't do it. So you've missed that window. The highboy is all about extending the window. Research has shown that it doesn't compete with a corn crop for nutrients because the corn is so far ahead of the cover crop that it's actually pulling nutrients from a different portion of the soil profile. So early season short is good, and then that window gets closed. Then we're into the 4 to 10 feet corn, and that's what this is for. And then after harvest is another window. The weather will only leave a couple of those windows open. You won't hit them all.
Farmers plant cover crops to halt erosion, manage nutrients, and increase soil health. When nutrients are taken up by the cover crop, they can't run off when it rains. Nutrient runoff is what impacts water quality in Lake Champlain, especially in northwestern Vermont, where Sanders is working.
Franklin County is like the 23rd highest producing corn silage county in the country. So we grow a lot of corn silage, which has a very unique set of problems with it. You're pulling all the residue off and you're really leaving the ground bare. Grain farmers, you have residue. Well, we don't grow a lot of grain, so the need for cover crops in Franklin County is very high.
The shallow areas in Lake Champlain, like Missisquoi Bay and St. Albans Bay, are susceptible to algae outbreaks. When excessive amounts of phosphorus and nitrogen, two nutrients found in agricultural runoff, combine with warm water temperatures, the results can be toxic.
UVM and the agriculture community is working very hard to try to address the issues with the lake. Farmers have $500 to $700 per acre invested in a corn crop that they're letting UVM drive a machine that they've never seen before over the top of, and there's risk involved with that, and they're taking that risk on to try to do their part. Farmers are very adamant about contributing to the solution, and the farmer letting us do this on a lot of acres to try to figure out what works best is a testament to their willingness to participate in the solution with the lake.
We're not trying to pollute a lake. We want to keep all our nutrients and everything. It costs you money to put them out there, so you want to keep them.
Larry Jarvis and his family operate one of the largest dairy farms in Vermont. He hosts field days at his farm so other farmers can see for themselves the kind of practices he's using to improve the soil and decrease his farm's impact on the lake. At the 2016 UVM Extension No-Till and Cover Crop Symposium, Jarvis took part in a panel to talk about the nutrient management practices that worked best on his farm.
And I've got 200 acres committed to the high boy. So he came onto our farm and we had different type of cover crop mixes, varieties with some radishes, clovers, winter rye, annual ryegrass. And we tried it in different fields because we want to be able to see it on a wide variety of soil types also. If you create a good environment for your soils via a cover crop, it's going to give you a great return. We always need to learn, go ahead and try different things that are going to help the environment, help your overall soil health, which in turn is going to help your production of your crops. And with the water quality issues that we're having, it's good for the public to understand that we're good stewards of the land. We want to keep everything intact, and it's a win-win for the public and the farmers themselves.
UVM Extension purchased the Highboy through a Natural Resources Conservation Service Conservation Innovation Grant. The flexibility and versatility the Highboy provides to farmers who want to use cover crops goes a long way to improving Vermont's agricultural and environmental resources.
UVM Extension has a huge investment in cover cropping, and this was kind of the logical next step for us to continue to expand our knowledge base. There's a lot of pressure on the agricultural community to do their part for cleaning up the lake, and one of those practices that has been identified is cover cropping to reduce erosion and help with nutrient uptake and build soil health, all good things.
Sure, the Highboy is big, but the impact it may have on Vermont farms and Lake Champlain is even bigger. In Swanton, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
And that's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.